People who lost hundreds of pounds, how did you do it? I went from being a cheerleader to 300 pounds. Now, I'm down to 180 and I barely have to lift a finger as the pounds keep dropping. My war with my body began the week before my 21st birthday when I was paralyzed from the waist down by a drunk driver. It ruined my life. I went from being a tri-sport athlete to a cripple, a happy girl with a bright future to a source of pity. In those first years when I was wheelchair-bound, my entire life centered around my newfound disability. I dropped out of college, gave up on my nursing degree, and fell into a long spell of depression. This period lasted 2 years, but it was enough for me to gain over 100 pounds. Even when I finally came out of my depression, being in a wheelchair made it impossible for me to change my sedentary lifestyle. By the time I was 30, I weighed almost 300 pounds. It wasn't all bad though, as those years helped me find an extremely loving husband who became the light of my life. However, my weight remained a constant drain. I felt ashamed to look at myself in the mirror. I avoided family photos, always trying to be the one to take the photo so that no one could immortalize my shame in a family album. And it got so bad that I bought a matte screen protector for my phone so that I couldn't even accidentally catch my own fat face staring back at me. The only way I could cope with my weight was to ignore it. But I would soon come to regret this decision, especially after discovering just how effortless it would be for me to undo all my troubles, if only I put the effort into figuring out how. When my husband and I finally decided we were ready to have kids, I was initially elated because my doctor said that paralyzed women like me can still get pregnant and have children with minimal extra risks. But my hopes fell when I learned that my obesity meant that my husband and I would probably be unable to conceive. We tried anyway. And my doctor wound up being right, and so I fell into another long spell of depression that raised my weight to 310 pounds. I felt like Jabba the Hutt. Fortunately for me, there was a light at the end of the tunnel this time. I didn't know anything yet, but my husband and mother-in-law were about to change my life. I just had to be patient. My husband said that he and I were going to go on a health journey together and that we were going to hold each other accountable so I wasn't alone in this. We threw out all the junk food and started meal prepping together constantly. Our relationship improved as we started actually cooking every single meal at home and together, and it was really wonderful to spend quality time with the love of my life in such a consistent way. Unfortunately, it was still too much for me. I cracked one day when I thought my husband wasn't looking and ordered a massive Oreo cake from Walmart. I planned to devour the whole thing that very night, but my husband caught me as I was eating it in our walk-in supply closet, hiding in the depths of our house like a criminal. We had the biggest fight of our lives that night, and it changed my life completely, because just hours after having this screaming match with my husband, telling him he didn't care about me, shouting that he couldn't understand what it felt like to be so broken and hideous, I had a stroke. It was terrifying, but it was also the most important experience in my life. When I woke up in the hospital, my first thought was that I truly needed to fix things, in a sustainable way. I was horrified to realize that I could so easily lose my life just because I couldn't lose some weight. My doctor sat me down to have a talk with me about it, but he didn't even need to say it. I was finally determined to do it and be consistent this time. I felt a drive I'd never felt before because this time, I had a reason. I wanted to get to a healthy weight so I could minimize my chances of ever having a stroke again, and most importantly, I was terrified of compromising my marriage any further. My husband and I sat down one more time and talked, but this time, he told me he had an idea. I had already talked with my doctor before about trying pills and external health supplements, but I'd never gone through with anything because I felt that pills were like plastic surgery, that if I resorted to them, then I wouldn't be authentic anymore. But my husband bluntly told me that my life was pushed off its authentic path the day that drunk driver crashed into my car. So, I went through with it. My husband and I decided to go with some weight loss pills from a small company called Avi, specifically this Avi Elite Fat Burner. Why? Because my husband's mom had used them before, which was where he even got the idea, and it worked wonders for her. I had no clue if it would work on me since I was double his mom's size, but after years of fighting against my disability, fighting against the fact that I was in a losing battle, I figured that the worst thing the pills could do was nothing. My doctor gave me the green light and I started taking them. It was that, or brace myself for an inevitable gastric bypass surgery. You could take up to 4 pills per day, so that's what I did. By the end of the first month I had lost 8 pounds. It might sound small, but anyone who has ever tried to lose weight knows that 8 pounds in a single month is intense, especially given that I was still adjusting to a healthier diet without fully restricting my favorite snacks. In the second month, the pills seemed to have adapted better to my system because I lost 11 pounds, which was crazy. For the first time in ages, my weight finally had a 2 in front of it again, and seeing that change lit a spark under me. I suddenly felt like weight loss was actually possible, and abruptly, it became easier to resist the urge to snack. I replaced soda with diet soda, and drank that until I was finally drinking 8 glasses of water every day. And up until this point, I'd seen the number on the scale go down but had yet to witness any visual changes in my body. But as the months wore on, I kept losing weight. Between my healthier diet and the Avi Elite Fat Burner, I continued to lose an average of 10 pounds per month. I weighed myself daily and only hit one plateau when I reached 240 pounds, but I persevered through it until even those numbers started to fall. And finally, I started to feel younger again. I started to train my arms and upper body to keep my torso somewhat active and found a gym regimen that works for me, even though I can only do light, stretch-based exercises to avoid risk of injury. Better yet, my relationship with my husband completely transformed. We went from years of friction and arguments to being intensely appreciative of each other, with my husband reminding me every morning how proud he is of me for actually managing to lose my weight and me thanking him for supporting me through it all. It took over a year, but I'm finally at 180 pounds now. It's heavier than when I was an athlete, but I'm not trying to go back to those days. I just want to be healthy and happy. I even stopped taking the OB pills because I didn't need them anymore, but my body has barely noticed a difference. If anything, I'm still slimming down now that my health habits are actually better. My doctor is astounded that I was able to lose so much weight, especially after years and years of me not doing anything about it. I've even started picking up wheelchair table tennis. There are obviously still things I dislike about my body, from the way my skin sometimes sags and how I'll always have stretch marks from being so big, but I finally feel safe, secure, and ready to start my own family, because yes, as of last week, I am officially pregnant, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. Edit. Guys, please stop telling me to name my child Abby. Yes, I love them for their help, but I think I'd name my baby girl after a dish soap before naming her after a weight loss supplement. Thanks for platinum though.